Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Master Phil in your corner with your host, Master Phil. Oh, Phil. Wait, Phil? Phil? There he is. There he is.
Hey, can
Thought you
you
were in the
hear me?
studio. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that, but I'm here. I'm here virtually. I'm here at the homestead, and I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Master Phil with me, and of course my partner in crime, Dougie Fresh Friedman. So we have a great show on tap for today, and a really very unique, extremely accomplished guest. But before we get into the guest, guys, we're at a different time right now, and you know what, we have to there's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts. As many people know, if you follow me on social media, you'll see that I am running for the Board of Education. And apparently, just something came out that now that the parents who have been, you know, questioning the board are now being put on some type of domestic terrorist watch list. God,
Wait,
I don't know, kind of
what?
funny. Yeah, you didn't see
So
that?
if you question the Board of Ed, you are a
Yes.
terrorist.
Yeah, that's what they put that out. The board, the National Board of Educators Board, whatever it is,
What?
association. Yeah, they sent a letter to Merrick Garland asking him to enlist the FBI to investigate potential threats and whatever. I mean, look, no one has ever been harmed. No one has been physically threatened at all. The most I've ever seen, and I watch all of them, is, hey, you're no good. I'm coming for you. I'm going to get you out of there, because they're going to vote them out. Okay,
Yeah.
no one's jumped on anybody. Nobody's beaten anybody up. I mean, the funny thing was, because I think got heated at one of our board of ed meetings, and I said,
Mhm.
I go, listen, guys, next time there'll be a cop here. Guess what? There was a cop here. So I'm goofing around with the cop, of course. It's like, yeah, it's. I go, what'd you do? You get
Yeah.
the short straw? Did you get the short straw here? Okay, these are
Yeah. I mean, we're friends with
taxpayers.
all of them. We're
I
friends with
know.
all of them. You work with them.
It's like, these are taxpayers. These are parents that are just, they. You know what? The thing is that they've seen, with all this virtual school, they see some of the nonsense going on in the schools, and they're like, wait a minute,
Mhm.
what's my kid learning? And now they're questioning it. And these school boards have pretty much operated with autonomy, and everyone's like, kind of like, who cares? Just vote for a school board, not even vote. But now, like this one, there's 3 open seats, and there's 6 people going for them, because it's want to get out the incumbents and move forward. But so that's been taking up a lot of time. And then, of course, right after this, I have to go train my daughter's soccer team. I put them through a little hell workout at the end of their practice, so it's always fun.
Nice.
Let's
Excellent.
let's talk about, remember, philross.com. Don't forget Master Phil Industries. We are doing classes live, and we have a special. Okay, we've actually lowered prices down to 2008. Gas has gone up, insurance is up, food is up, inflation's out of control, but we've brought our prices down. The time to train is now. And listen, I'll tell you, especially women out there, learn some self-defense. You see, a woman just got thrown off the subway platform by another woman. Stuff is going
Wow.
crazy out there. And remember,
Hmm.
self protection is a self responsibility. We also have the
Yes,
Body
sir.
Bell method. The Body Bell method. We have another seminar coming up on Saturday, November 13th in Waldwick. So it should be up on the site.
Nice.
So you want to go check out the Body Bell method. And I guess that's it right now. But without further ado, I've been wanting to get this guy on for a while. He's a DPT. Okay, that's a doctor of physical therapy, and he owns Reload Physical Therapy and Fitness in Manhattan. Now, you have to see this place. I was there for one of Marty Gallagher's seminars. I did a little guest speaking and so forth. The place is incredible. He's got this killer staff, beautiful place, right, down around 14th Street in Manhattan. Is it 14th or? somewhere around there in the teens. Beautiful place, but Ryan will give you the actual address, where they do physical therapy and strength and conditioning. So they offer a wide array of strength and fitness and rehabilitation services. So I want to introduce this man. His name is Dr. Ryan Chow. And Ryan, welcome to Master Phil in your corner.
Thanks for having me, Phil, man. It's a pleasure to be here. I had such a great time meeting and hanging out with you that seminar. And just excited to connect and talk shop and see if we can provide some great insights and value to your audience.
Yeah, well, first I want to talk about your place. I mean, it's incredible. I know you recently I give you all the credit in the world. It was in a pandemic. You open up a trading facility. Like, God bless you, brother. That takes a lot of guts. But so you took over in 2021 and you took on this huge facility. And if anybody knows anything about the rents in Manhattan, not too cheap. And you have to pay to keep the doors open and the lights on. So, why don't you tell us what are your services that you offer, and take them all along with it.
Yeah. It's so I used to actually rent space from the place. It was used to be a Performix House, and I was a subtenant, a physical therapist, and when I first went there, maybe in 2019, and I brought a team with me. Back then, it was just me and my boy Joe, and we did really well. And then we brought in more physical therapists, Gary and other trainers, and then we just kept growing. And then by the time the pandemic, kind of shut everything down, unfortunately, Performix House had to shut their operations down. But fortunately, our team was big enough and business was going well enough at the time where we're like, you know what, this is such a great opportunity to, affect people's lives and build a community and do something with the space. Because as you mentioned, it was built out really, really nice. It's got 8,000 square feet. We have like a group studio room. We have a big open gym floor concept, turf, state-of-the-art equipment, everything. So we're like, we were doing well enough where we thought it would be a shame to let this go. And it's fortunately we've been growing since and trying to grow out our community and our reach and our ability to help people.
Yeah, because I know when we met and we're speaking to what you're trying to do and what you're actually doing, you're trying to become, and you are becoming the mecca for bringing seminars in and so forth, bringing these personalities in, bringing people from different areas, training with different modalities. Like I know you brought Marty in, who is fantastic. The guy's just like an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to strength training. It's ridiculous. And I listen to his podcast all the time. I listened to you recently on it. It's funny because when I go for my walks, I walk my dog a couple times a day, and I put on a podcast. So I put that on. As soon as she hears the podcast, she runs to go get her leash. She's ready to go out. So it's awesome. But so now one of the things that I wanted to get in before we got into the actual subject matter. So at your location, how many DPTs do you have? How many trainers do you have? What's your mix there?
So we do a couple of things. We have 4 physical therapists, including myself, on staff on our team, as well as 3 coaches, trainers, strength and conditioning coaches. Aside from that, we also have independent trainers, chiropractors, physical therapists, and renting space where they run their own business out of, which that's kind of how I started as well. And I think it's something that's really important is kind of empowering other professionals to build their kind of dream scenario, but also kind of do things on their terms where they don't have to be salespeople for big box gyms or
Right.
I know the chiropractors and physical therapists hate seeing like 4 patients at a time at the run of the mill kind of offices. So I wanted to provide something that gave people the ability to do what they felt was best. So we have a mix of our team and people who we like in our community who are just awesome to work around. And with our team, we do PT and training because we believe that, it's kind of, and I'm sure, Phil, you know this more than anyone, like with training, stuff happens, or even without training, just in life, stuff happens, right? Like people get hurt. We have plateaus. And if you have a team that's cohesive, that brings injury, pain, fitness, and performance all together, you're providing kind of what we call a human-centered healthcare, where it's like, it's not about us and the professional or any hierarchies, but it's more about us coming together to give people what they've been missing at other gyms and healthcare scenarios. So
yeah, I mean, that's what you bring up, a very important point, because one thing that I've noticed is that, okay, something happens, car accident, trip and fall, get hurt doing sports, whatever it is, you get hurt, you go to the doctor. Let's say you need surgery of some sort, or maybe you just need physical therapy. Okay. So whatever the case is, once your physical therapy is done, people just go away, and many times they get re-injured or something else happens. They don't realize that you have to strengthen. So, you need that strength training. You need that conditioning. And, I've been lucky enough because I work with a lot of different doctors, and they refer people to me all the time. Go see Phil. Yeah, and I can operate on your back, because I don't know if you heard of the book, The End of Back Pain, with it's called The End of Back Pain by Dr. Pat Roth.
No, I haven't, but
check it out. He was one of my personal clients for over 10 years. And, he thanks me in his book for the kettlebell exercises that I provided him for the book. So, he'll go and refer people to me all the time. Now, you don't need surgery. Go here. And then, especially when people are done with their physical therapy, because PT, sometimes you can only get to a certain level, and then you have to let the person go.
Yep.
Now it's time to train. Now you want to get stronger. So this is you have a very unique concept, because I have seen where they have some PTs, where they have chiropractors and orthopedic surgeons in the same location, but you have the strength training component in there too. That's very unique. I don't see that all the time.
Yeah, because I think most of the time the office that's all healthcare professionals isn't going to do very well, because most of the time it's not a health issue. It's not like we have a epidemic of traumatic injuries and like like accidents and stuff like that. We have an epidemic of obesity, chronic pain, stuff that just develops over time, not stuff that like happens all of a sudden. So really, fitness instructors, trainers, strength and conditioning coaches are the front line, and they're the best solution we have to those things. So the doctor, the physical therapist, the chiropractor, they're not necessarily going to speed things up. And in fact, sometimes we slow people down, because we give them diagnoses that are like tags that are like that make them feel fragile, broken,
right.
Scared to train. And then we back that up with giving them sissy exercises that reinforces that same idea that's not necessarily true. And, I was a trainer for many years before becoming a physical therapist. And I'll tell you, in physical therapy school, they don't really tell you how to train, even though most people assume that's what we learn in school, but it's not actually what we learn. So I find that you got to have the strength and conditioning background, which is why I require every physical therapist to pass, a kettlebell certification, just because, you can't roll out of bed and just do that. Even if you were an athlete before, you got to train for it. You got to walk the walk. You got to feel what it's like, so that you can relate to your clients, so that you understand how to push people. Because a lot of times we baby people, and there's a lot of research that shows a lot of the bad ideas that plague people trying to get fit or back out of pain and get fit again or active again. Those bad ideas come from healthcare practitioners, because we don't know what it's like many times to train the way you do,
Yeah. It's funny, because, if you want to elicit a change, right, you have to force adaptation. And if you're not getting out of the comfort zone, the body's not going to adapt. So these are things that people have to understand, that they're going to have to push. They have to get out of the comfort zone. Now, as a matter of fact, I was teaching this in a lecture today to a bunch of aspiring personal trainers. So you gotta get people out of the comfort zone. If you want to do progressive resistance, right?
Mhm.
You want to get stronger. You want to get faster. Doesn't matter whether it's cardio based or strength based. You have to force the body to adapt, make it uncomfortable. And then, one of the things I've wound up, I've trained quite a few physical therapists on the goblet squat, the get up, and the swing. Those 3 moves. I've trained a lot of people on that. So there was a number of years ago, there was a move to make that required, but I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if that's still
you know how
on
it
the
is.
wayside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I was listening to talk to you about this, all this politics with the teaching and education system. Imagine forcing a bunch of graduate students to pass physical examinations or coaching tests. That's going to be really hard to pass through on a national level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that has to be the standard. There's too many people who don't know what it's like trying to tell people that, oh, that's not safe for you. That's not good for you. First, the research doesn't back that at all. I mean, we don't say no pain, no gain. A lot of things like tendinopathies and certain types of injuries require you to train through pain,
Yes.
and I'm not, saying be a goon about it, but there's a certain amount of, like, the point you're making is you got to push the limits, and you got to know what that looks like. You got to know what that feels like. You got to know what it's like mentally when someone's lacking confidence or struggling or unsure of themselves, and that's why I want people to go through those things. That's why I ask, everyone on our team has to be able to go through Marty's, 12-week periodization. So they got to know what it's like to push the numbers up. They got to know what it's like when you're hitting your last rep on a top set that, sometimes, your background's a little bit, or sometimes this happens. You're not going to explode into a million pieces. It's going to be okay, So I think that's I hope they someday make it a part of the requirements.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, the things you brought up, so many good points. I don't even know where to go. Because one thing you talked about 12 weeks. Now, I'm working on a 3rd book, Solitary Strength, and I talk about the 90 days of suck. Okay, in order to elicit any type of real change, you have to do something for 90 days, which is 12 weeks. Okay? So that's why it's very important that chunk of time, is essential to eliciting change and really, making the body adapt. Now, another point that you brought up was that you're not going to fall apart. Same thing. When somebody spars for the first time, some of these people they've never been hit. Like I was training these guys, getting ready. They're in the police academy right now. They're killing it, by the way, with their DT. They're doing stuff that they're the only being taught certain tasks that only they know out of 200 recruits in the police academy, state police academy. But these are really good kids. They weren't like me growing up. I mean, they didn't get in street fights, none of this stuff, right? First time the nose ever bled was when they were training with me. Hey, you're going to get cracked, but you'll live. You're going to be okay. You're going to get up, So
better in a controlled environment where it's not, can't spiral out of control than in real life. Like that's some of my teachers and mentors they're kind of like they're kind of go against the grain in pro sports and stuff like that. Like my friend Rachel Balkovic, she's a batting coach, for the first female batting coach in the MLB. She's with the Yankees. And she talks about arm care in baseball. It's like, hey, you gotta load the shoulder. You can't just do like little banded exercise and call arm care. You gotta do, like, she does like muscle ups on rings. She does like barbell snatching. She's amazing. She's just a great thinker and a great leader. And she's just a really smart person that has influenced me. And she talks about how would you rather them break down in the game and find out that it was too much, or why not find out in the gym, like, sure, I think a lot of people get scared. They don't want to take the blame, but you don't want to baby someone in the gym and then say, okay, go out there and then find out it's too late. So I think, the gym is a controlled environment. I can pick how much stress, I can pick how much chaos, I can pick how much reactivity, I can pick how much load, how much speed, how much recovery. But when you're in season, whether you're a cop or you're a dancer or you're a pro athlete, like once you're going, you can't just shut it off. So why not build up not just the capacity in the gym, but also beyond that capacity, where like in a bad situation where you might end up in a back-to-back or like you're tired that day, you need an extra reserve and a buffer space. So I think people got it wrong. Instead of babying people, we need to make them twice as ready in the gym so that in the real world they're good to go.
Yeah, you bring up some incredible points and kind of brings us into where we wanted to go today with this. I wanted to talk, well, how much is too much? How much is enough? Because there's so many different philosophies. I mean, there's some philosophy out there that say, work out 60% every day, work out 90% every other day, work out 100% once a week, something like that. So, there's different goals in life, right? And sometimes, in my estimation, well, I want to take your take on it. I know what I think. So when you're having someone comes into you, do you have them set goals, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's probably one of like three of the most important things I talk to a person about. So their goals is what's important. That's why they're coming for help. So our evaluations are very unique. I think we have for every client, whether they're fitness clients, pro athlete, performance client, rehab, injury, pain, doesn't matter. We always have both a strength and conditioning coach and a physical therapist present. And we take an hour and a half to 2 hours for every initial evaluation because we want to be very thorough. We want to not just understand what their goals are, but we need to know the context. We need to know, where are they coming from? What's their injury history? What are they concerned about? What barriers have they had? What do they think the problem is? What do they think is stopping them? Or what do they think works? What's worked before, what hasn't worked lately, how's it been trending, and then like how much time can you actually spend with this? How much money, time, effort do you have to try to meet this goal? Because I can have the perfect plan for you, but if you can't execute it, not due to the desire, but like for example, you got to go, you got to coach your daughter's team, right? Like stuff happens, you got to do stuff. It's your life, so we got to realistically make it happen within the context of your life. So I want to know everything. And once I know everything, I can do an examination or the testing that's relevant to that person. Like we don't like a set screen because everyone's different. Like, am I going to screen you who, is getting into street fights and like training the police academies and writing books on fitness and just, crazy fit? Am I going to do that with, a bunch of, let's say, older person who hasn't been very active but has pain? Like, I'm not going to give them the same assessment. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah. And do you also ask about their support network? Because, sometimes especially when you have someone that's very deconditioned, what is their support network like? What, like you were talking about, what's the home life like? They have to take care of an elderly person. They have to take care of a child. Do they have a partner? Does their partner support them, or is their partner, making, lasagna and cheesecake every night?
I'm down.
No, I'm coming over.
You're right. The context is so important. Like, because and I think you're going to ask me a little bit about like, how much is enough training or how long does it take and things like that. And for me, I need to know what kind of stresses are in someone's life, because that if someone's stressed out at work or they have like a vigorous job day to day, that stress, and maybe they have emotional stress or psychological stress or work stress, whatever, all that stuff affects your ability to train. So I can't act like I'm training this person in a vacuum where every day is exactly the same and nothing fluctuates up and down. Like, I need to take all that into context. So, if someone can recover really well because they're a pro athlete, that's all they do, they can focus all their effort on it, then that's different than someone who's a mom of four or a CEO that has to travel every day. Like, that stress will affect what they can recover from. So I'm not going to add more stress to someone who's not already recovering from what they're already doing. So I I got to be very careful about just adding instead of sometimes taking away. A lot of times I'll work with fitness instructors or trainers who are really into whatever they're into. And I go, hey, before I add, this type of hardcore strength training, I got to first remove some of this HIIT training you're doing that's not really serving any goals. Like you might be topping off some biomotor qualities, but you might not need to top them off every single week just because you're used to doing that. Like I need some adaptive resources, some energy, and some calories so I can push you at what I want to push you at, because that's going to help you with your goals,
Yeah. So if you have some average person that comes in, they're like 42 years old or whatever, they're not in bad condition, but they haven't done too much, and you want to get them into shape, and then they come in and say, well, my friend goes to CrossFit and he does, or she does, works out every day, does the WOD, does the Murph or whatever it is. And they look great. I want to be like that. What do you say to someone like that?
Well, if they just want to look good, I don't really, you don't have to do any type of training. I think I want to know if they've been doing that, has it been working?
Yeah.
Right? If it's been working, then I'm not going to change too much, right? Because I'm happy with any sort of progress. Like if they've been doing something, it hasn't been working, then I gotta figure out why, right? I need to know, because for some people, looking good is maybe they got some muscle on them already. They just got a little extra body fat, and they just need to reveal it, right? They just need to shed a little body comp, and they'll look good. Some people, they got no mass on them at all, and if they lost weight, they'd be like they go from like a big tomato shape to a small tomato, and it's not gonna look good, right? So if they need to put on muscle, then I'm gonna put them on like a hypertrophy program. Really, we just really try to personalize. The most basic way, we call it a gap analysis. It's what a lot of strength and conditioning coaches do. Is let me see what you have, let me see where you want to go, how much time do I have, and then let me do a step-by-step plan to fill those gaps in. And a lot of times what we do is we have to manage expectations, because they're like, oh yeah, I want to achieve this in 4 weeks. I'm like, that's not realistic. So it depends.
Yeah. Well, that's why I use SMART goals, and then I'll do smarter goals, once we've either achieved our objective or failed. Okay. Sometimes it doesn't always work. So you have to go back and look at it again. So, that's essential. Now, when we're, the philosophy where, some people say, some philosophies have been espoused, I forget the name, where it's, you just have like kind of a low level of activity or actually intensity, okay, where maybe it's like 60, 70%, but you do it more often. You do it like every day, as opposed to going harder one day and then easier the next, or off the next, or working out so hard that you can't even move for 3 days. I mean, so that's why we how much is too much, and how much is enough. Do you employ, wave loading, periodization, so forth? So I'd like to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I love it. So we can get into like the real nitty gritty, nerdy stuff. That's amazing. I mean, I think the simplest way I would put it is, so some people I've learned from, a guy named Tim Gabbett. He's a sports scientist, like double PhD, works with like rugby, soccer players, and
a slacker.
This guy's amazing. And he's like, and if you look at, I don't know if you watch NBA at all, but it's popular nowadays. When someone misses a game, it says, coach's decision did not play, load management, right? So that concept of load management is been somewhat popularized by Tim Gabbett. He's just talked about earning the right to train as hard as someone wants to train. So how much is enough is dependent on that person. So in general, if we shoot for something like a 6, 7, or 8 out of 10 on the RPE, rated perceived exertion scale, if someone's training very frequently, right? So that's a general guideline, but depending on the biomotor quality we're trying to develop, we might need to hit the intensity higher. Depending on the days available, we might hit, maybe like a higher intensity day, let's say on a Monday, we might chase that with a low intensity, kind of more of a cardio kind of, like if we do max power, max strength, or max speed training on a Monday, we want to chase that with usually with a lower intensity, maybe stuff that's more active recovery type, cardio type things, or mobility or skill work that isn't going to smoke the nervous system or steal from the ability to repeat a high effort activity again in a day or two. So, it depends on the training age. Like some people, like, some of the guys that Marty's working with sweating 1,000 pounds, like, yeah, they're going to need 7 to 7 days to 30 days before, or maybe even 6 months before they're going to hit a weight like that again. Right. Sometimes people work 12 weeks up to just to PR once. Right. Yep. So it depends on the training age and it depends what the activity is. But, we generally categorize things by max speed, max strength is high intensity, max powers, that kind of thing. And then like stuff that's more like hypertrophy or medium intensity, repeat effort, or like strength endurance. So maybe like kettlebell stuff, you might be able to do that more frequently throughout the week, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, again, the one good thing I like about with kettlebells is that I can take, like, I'll make a heavy day, where we go, everything's like super power, like low reps, like 5 reps, 10 max, but usually like around 5 reps. And then follow that up with a more endurance or mobility day with the bell. And then whatever I didn't do, I'll do the next one on the 3rd day. So, you get your 3 workouts in for the week and change it up. So it's not, all doing all power. I used to try doing it in the cycles where I do power, endurance, and I found, just from a group perspective, it didn't work as well.
Interesting. Tell me about that. What happened?
Okay. Well, what happened was people got stale. People got stale because if you're sitting there, I had this one regiment where I'll take kettlebell, do 10 swings each hand-to-hand swings, and then 2-hand swings. So we're doing 60 swings, and you do that for 3 sets. It's a lot of swings.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, bang out 100 snatches, a day of 100 stuff. So if you do workouts like that, people break down.
Yeah.
Now when I started putting in a day where we're doing like balance and mobility, slow it down a little bit, and then other days when we do power days, so they're getting that strength that they want to get, explosive power, and then do cycling and endurance days. It seemed to work a heck of a lot better. People were fresher and they could really hit the workouts harder.
Yeah, I love that.
I didn't read that. I just that's just something I did from teaching thousands of classes.
Yeah, you're smart, because what you're doing is you're in the lab all the time. You're always trying to see what's working or how to refine it or how to make it a little better. Yeah. I find that a lot of people in my world, in general fitness and physical therapy, whether people get better or not, it doesn't matter. As long as your clients keep coming back, people are paying money. A lot of times people just keep repeating stuff because it's easier that way, right? But for your students, it matters whether, especially police academy or martial arts and people doing very high level fitness, it matters. It's, if you don't get results, it won't work. But to your point, I think some of the guys I've learned from, they call what you're describing as vertical integration, where you want to work on multiple qualities at the same time year round. And in order to do that, you have to have a really, really good understanding of what qualities can be stressed, how long it takes to recover from that stress, how often you have to expose yourself to that stress to push it up over time. And then how long does it take for you to start to lose those abilities over time? And once I started to understand those concepts, I got a lot more clever about understanding what to take away from people and what to give people. Because what you were alluding to is sometimes you just go hard all the time. You're stealing your ability to be productive in a meaningful way the next day or the next few days. And you might win the day, but you lose the week, or you might win the week and you lose the month, or you lose the 12-week cycle. So that's a really intricate dance that took a lot of time, a lot of learning from, guys like Marty, from some sprinters, from endurance people. And, I think my expertise and what people come to me for is when they've tried a bunch of stuff, but they don't know why they're not improving. And the solution they think usually is to do more, but a lot of times it's do less, right?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it is. Change it up too. You have to change it up. I mean, especially
Yeah.
because, look, when you're operating at a very high level, you plateau, you get stale. Sometimes you just have to take a week off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
and maybe focus on a task. Do you ever use any exercise snacks? You ever have people do that?
You mean frequent exposures throughout the day, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I call them exercise snacks.
Yeah. I think I've tried to, in the past, I probably had gotten more people to be able to do it, but it's kind of hard to get someone to buy into that. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea. It makes total sense to me. Because the more time that passes that you've done something, the more difficult it is to start again, right?
Yeah.
So if you keep it fresh at all times, then you don't really have to worry about that. But tell me a little bit of how you've been able to implement that. And
Well, what I do is, especially during the pandemic, people are working from home, a lot of people sitting. So I said, listen, you have to get up every 1 to 2 hours. And I keep this is my office here, but I got a couple kettlebells over there, and I have a gym in my garage. I mean, sick gym in the garage. But I'll just go over there. I'll do a bunch of swings, squats, rows, push-ups, bridges, and then I'll come back to work. It takes me like 5-6 minutes. And then maybe I'll do that a couple times, especially if I'm not working out that day. I'll definitely do that. But if I'm having a real hard workout that day, like if I'm doing kettlebells and martial arts, so then I probably won't do that. I'll just do like maybe one set of calisthenics. But if I'm not working out a lot, or if I'm just going to be teaching that night, I'll do this throughout the day. And it's something I recommended for people to do is just, pick a couple exercises. Make sure you have an upper body push and a pull. Get a bridge in there. And if you get some single leg and work, great. Because I do my little workout every morning. It annoys the snot out of my wife, but such is life. I get up and I stretch my back out, and then I'll do 50 squats, 50 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 10 tabletop bridges, RDLs, 5 each side, and I do my neck exercises, 4-way neck, and then I'm on with my day.
Wow. So, yeah, it's like you're basically checking all the boxes for all the joints, like move everything in every kind of direction, and it's like, I think, some people like to describe that as like joint hygiene. Like one of the movement experts I learned from a guy named Lee Taft, who's amazing at multi-directional speed. He talks about his movement kind of menu. Everyone knows squat, lunge, hinge, push, pull, carry as basic gym exercises, and you want to expose yourself to those things frequently, all of them. And he taught me the same thing about his speed movements. He has a couple of forward movements, a couple of sideways movements, a couple of backward movements, and he said, hey, this is just joint hygiene, movement hygiene. This is just, if you do a little bit of all of them frequently, then you'll always maintain good health at all the joints, and you might focus in on just one of them or two of them during your training session, but you still want to maybe mix some of the other stuff in once in a while. So that reminds me of what you just said, reminds me of that too. And it's definitely what shakes out in most of my training sessions with most people. It's like, you got to push once, you got to stimulate one thing enough to push it up, but you don't want to let anything kind of drop off too much.
Right. Yeah. That's a really important point to hit, because, if you've trained something and you gotten good at it, you don't want to forget about it.
Yeah.
You want to keep that going. It's easier to keep it going than it is to start it. So once you've gotten to a certain point, okay, let's say let's say it's pull-ups. You wanted to get 12 pull-ups. Okay. So now you've built up and you've gotten to the 12 pull-ups, you've done your cycle. So you want to keep it at 12 pull-ups. You don't have to constantly do pull-ups every day, but you have to make sure you do it once a week.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a snatch test for kettlebells. You don't have to do 100 snatches. You don't have to do it even every week, but if you do it every other week, or at least you're gonna keep it.
You nailed that. So did you learn that every other week by trial, or
by
That's
doing it.
super interesting because I read one of my teachers showed me a study where they looked at all the qualities.
Mhm.
They showed me they just summarized the residual training effects. So if you Google
Yeah.
residual training effects,
I
you'll see
want to look it up.
yeah, you'll see a table, right? And the table
Yeah.
says that aerobic endurance, you start to lose it every 30 days plus or minus 5 days.
Yeah.
And then for maximum strength, you'll start to lose your maximum strength about every 30 days. It'll take about 30 days for you to start to lose it. And then when they talk about like glycolytic, like metabolic conditioning,
Yeah.
you lose it every 18 days plus or minus 4 days. So it's just about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So after we learned that, so we started running, let's say, a linear barbell periodization to push up strength. And all our PTs got really strong. They're all doctors, but everyone's got a 400 pounds deadlift on our team.
Nice.
And once we earned the right to do that, we didn't want to lose it. So, we figured this thing out. So once a month, if you lift, something like 90-something%, even if it's just for a rep or two, you're never going to fully lose that strength. And we started running group classes because, we want to make training accessible. So, we want to do groups.
Mhm.
And we started this thing where we would do a reunion where we prepared a lot of trainers and clinicians to pass their Strong First or RKC or whatever snatch test. So we're going to do this thing where every 2 weeks come back and you can do like a reunion, 30-minute workout with culminating in like either 100 swings or 100 snatches to top off that quality. Or if you've done a barbell club or you took Marty's course that weekend, once a month you can come in and we'll work up to like a close to a 1 RM in each of the lifts, just because we want to educate our community on these concepts, but we also want to bring everyone together, and we don't want you to lose what you gained by spending all that time and effort with us. So I love that what you do is the same thing we're arriving at, that you got to do that. Otherwise, it's like a 3-month mountain to climb again if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I came across that when I first started doing pistol squats too. And then I just noticed, if I do this every couple of weeks, I'm still good. That's just, I just kind of kept it in here. I never thought about it much because I just implement it in my class and my training. So I make sure that my guys stay on like a 2 to 3 week strength cycle. So to make sure that, we don't, our get-ups are really good, or our snatch test, we can do our snatch test and so forth. This is, I never thought about it on that level. I just kind of did it.
No, that's amazing. And that's kind of our vision for, what you're doing already. It's kind of our vision for the long term of all the people in our community. We want to, because a lot of times people come in, like most of the clients that come in to see us, we're looking at what kind of training they've been doing, what qualities they have. And a lot of times we just shift the type of training. So if they're doing a lot of like boot camp classes, we're going to give, and they don't have any strength, we're going to give them strength training. Usually that takes their pains away and improves performance. So we're not really, let's say, massaging their pain away or doing any sort of modalities or treatments. We're just changing the type of training. That's a lot of what we do. So in the long term, we want to give people a year-long program where we'll help them decide after this 12-week block, what do you want to develop next? And then while you're developing those for the 12 weeks, what things do we need to maintain on your body? So we want a scenario. My vision is to have people come in, whatever they come in, whether it's for pain or for injury or performance plateau or whatever. We want to catalyze their progress, get rid of the barriers, and then year round, just if you're a member of the gym, then we'll decide for you what to do the next block, and we'll teach you, show you how to train the things you need to train, so you never lose, whatever qualities you develop. So year long, you're only improving instead of going up in one thing, going down in another, and then building it back up. And it's kind of like going in circles. Why would you do that, right? And people right now in the fitness world and in the rehab world, they don't understand, in my opinion, that they're not qualified to decide what kind of training they need most of the time. So someone goes, "Oh, I want to get really big and strong," and then they join like a running class. Like that doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? But
makes no sense.
Yeah, it's not their fault. They don't know the stuff that you've studied.
Yeah.
But for us, it's like, we should, the highest value thing that we can do for them is to decide for them what kind of training they need and what to remove. Because, it's like when you meet the woman who loves spin class, and they're like, oh, you got to do strength training because you're worried about your osteoporosis, and you have it's hard for you to do this, and you have pain with that, like you're lacking strength. They're like, no, I do strength. Like I use the dumbbells during my spin class. And you're like, no, like that's not what I'm talking about, right?
No.
And they don't even know, like it's not their fault. They just believe that they're doing what they think is appropriate. So a lot of times our job is to decide for them what they need, and then obviously you got to execute on it. But yeah, that's I'd love to hear more about how you let's say with the martial artist, like I feel like a martial artist has to have so many qualities. They have to have strength, stamina, power, speed, flexibility, and how you juggle all those qualities.
God, that's and it depends on the athlete too. Let's say I trained a bunch of fighters for a while, and I was a competitor myself. You have to train a lightweight different than you would a middle, and a middle different than you're going to train a heavyweight. Forget getting heavyweights to run. This is not going to happen. So you have to you have to get their endurance through other measures. Bag work, jiu-jitsu, skipping rope, things like that. Whereas, a 145 pounder, featherweight will run all day.
Right. Great point.
So you have to cater the training, and the thing is that you have to find a balance between your strength and conditioning training and on the way up to a fight. So I discussed in the book that I wrote with Marty. Called the Ferocious Fitness. Yeah. So what I do is I take you through a fight camp. Okay. So I take through a 12-week fight camp. And if you're looking at a season, like let's say you're a combat athlete, like a wrestler, you have to make it like you're getting ready. The season is your fight. So it's a lot longer fight than one event, right? But your buildup is longer. So you'll do more of your laying the foundation of your strength with your big power movements earlier, way before the season starts. And then as you get closer to the season, you bring up the endurance factor, explosive power factor, and bring down the overall or like kind of absolute strength training. And so if you can imagine that jammed into like a 12-week cycle where you're doing more of the strength training technique and stuff, and then you're building, and then what you actually do is you come off of a lot of the strength training like right before a fight, because you want to be as loose as possible, and you don't want to break your muscles down, because most of the guys are just trying to make weight too, which is a whole nother. I actually wrote my thesis on that, for grad school.
Wow.
And actually the Nick Lembo, he's the one who wrote the Unified Rules because he hates weight cutting. He actually requested a copy of it. It's like a 48-page document.
That stuff is, from what I understand, very tricky and very specific. Like I went to University of Michigan to study exercise science, and one of the wrestlers there died trying to make weight.
Yep. Was it 1997?
Yeah, something like that. And just a quick thing before I forget. When you sent me your book, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Fitness is very insightful how you kind of built up those 12 weeks and how you taper off certain things. But it's funny is where I started my own personal training business was out of Independent Training Spot, where you filmed that thing.
No way.
I recognized it. I was like, I know that background. I know the small bars. I know I was like, this is crazy. It's small world.
And the guy that was modeling with me there, he's a guy I corner him a lot. Kyle Farrison. He's won several. He's retired now because he's 40, but he won BJJ. For the IBJJF, he's won the world's black belt a couple times. Won the Pan Ams. He's good. We used to train together all the time.
Wow. Yeah, jiu-jitsu is amazing. Every single person I've met that's into jiu-jitsu is like very cerebral, really smart, like very thoughtful person, but also just like kind of a savage.
Yeah, it's a rough sport. It's a rough sport. Man.
Yeah, but it's like a
stuff.
thinking man's sport. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's got it all. It's like a physical chess match. You
yeah.
know.
So what you're describing with all this and tapering and everything is something that's interesting to me. Something I've learned over the last few years is going back to that residual training idea.
Yeah.
You know, speed is actually, they say speed, like max effort speed, is lost it's like 5 days plus or minus 3 days. So if you don't top off your max speed every, at least once or twice a week, like it's really hard to ever get faster. And as you know, there's not a lot of people who are very fast, and it's very hard to keep it like that all the time. So have you ever come across anything like that, or have you seen anything like that in your experience?
Yeah, well, I actually trained a couple of pretty good people in track. And a wide variety for everyone from cross country to, sprinters. And and you have to be careful with that. It's so easy to overtrain, but the couple of people that I did train wound up doing very, very well. One of them, she was ranked 4th in the country, and she'd only been doing cross country 2 years, and she became and she loved the kettlebells. It was funny how we got her into that, and she actually went to an Ivy League. Then I had another guy, he's also certified in kettlebells with me now. He was this is a very competitive area in North Jersey, so he was all decade North Jersey in cross country.
Wow.
Which is pretty tough. And then I had my son too, who was all decade 13 for the shot put and disc.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was actually a very good sprinter. But so I trained these guys and a bunch of other ones too. I just mentioned those 3. And yeah, you can lose it pretty quickly, but you can also overtrain very easily in sprinting. And one thing about track and field that people, it takes a very special person to do it at those high levels and to train them, the special coach, because you have to understand that you are not going to do your best every time you go out there. It's impossible. It's impossible. So, Usain Bolt didn't set a record every time he ran.
Right.
No, you just have to peak at the right times. And that's all. There's a big trick to that, You're not going to throw your farthest shot put every time, but you have to time it for the meet that counts, so there's, that could just be a podcast in itself. That could be a seminar in itself.
Yeah.
That might be a college class in itself.
At least that's got to be like a 4-year thing, because what you're describing is exactly what happened. I worked with a 2016 100-meter relay track athlete, and when he came to me for back pain. This guy is just a great guy, just a great athlete, hardworking guy. And when he came to me, he was in pain. So he didn't come to me for performance, but he came to me for pain. And one of the things that I specialize in is looking for the weakest link. What's holding you back? Because you got a lot of the tools already. What's stopping you? Because I'm not going to necessarily make you faster by making you stronger or more elastic. I'm going to make you faster by preventing you from getting hurt. And, I got his 10.28 100-meter time down to 10.16 over a year and a half. But what ended up happening is exactly what you talked about, is we peaked a little too soon. And I'm curious as to, I'm always trying to get better. So I'm trying to figure out, what did we do? What could we have done differently? So I worked with his track coach. We did his strength and conditioning. We did a lot of the stuff. Like, what are some of the signs that someone's peaking too soon, or something's not right, or keep going, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's, and I'm going to say everybody is different. I've had a room full of people, let's say, I have like 22 fighters, and they were getting ready for a fight. And some guys, they'll peak the same stuff. So, and they'll peak before, or maybe they'll peak after, and it's too late. So everybody is different. And that's where I just could not give a one size fits all blanket statement that would, I wouldn't be, I'd be like one of those people who, just sell stuff, which I'm not going to be. It just doesn't care. So what it says, you have to pay attention to the individual, because there's going to be days when I have to, hey, you're going to take today off, or you're just going to relax today, or you're going to work out at 60% for the next 2 days, because they're building up too quick and they're going to get hurt, pop something, or they're going to peak too quickly, and then it'll be on the downslide. So you have to know when to throttle them back. So it's a constant, like, roll the throttle, bring it back, roll the throttle, bring it back. And you have to know how much to roll that throttle. And again, everyone's different, and they're different on different days. So I wish I had the magic formula for it, but I have to apply different. I've had to apply different constraints to each different person.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It just depends on the person itself, and that's what but we want to. I know, like Whoop and these other like measurement tools try to, like the Oura Ring tries to tell you about your sleep. All these things. Get a small piece of it, like when you got bad sleep, you're not going to perform as well. Or if you went out and drink too much, or you had a fight with your spouse, or whatever, like those things are going to affect you, but they're not the whole story, right? There's always more pieces to it. Yes. And it reminds me of something I teach our team is, and on our courses we teach is, like, you want to ask one of the questionnaires that helps you figure out readiness is sleep. You ask somebody, 0 to 5. 5 is good, 0 is bad. Your sleep, your fatigue, your muscle soreness, your mood, and your stress levels. And like, if you're like 20 and above, like, go for it, right? And it correlates to how well your central nervous system is functioning. So I know some studies talk about, like, your max grip strength on a good day, you're going to have it. When you wake up and you measure it, you'll have it, and you can go for PRs that day, or your vertical. On a bad day, your vertical isn't going to be where it normally would be. So there's like little things that I've picked up on, but I was curious, you have a lot of your own unique experiences. I was just curious if, like, there's other little tricks that, like, they just don't have it today. I know not to go for it. Let's work on something else.
Yeah. I see it. I can feel it. Again, when you get to know somebody, and you see how they're moving, like they trip over something, and it's like, okay,
subtle, right?
Yeah, it's subtle little things. You see their body language, you know, you see the posture, eye contact. There's so many things that you want to pay attention, especially when you're at that high level, But I know we talked about this a little bit before. You said that, I know we brought Marty up about 57 times today, which is a good thing. And you said that we're thinking about doing something with him and I in that your place. That'd be great. Yeah, we can have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, look, I know Marty's well known for being great at the absolute strength game.
Yeah.
Marty also knows, he thinks of people 4 different ways. Main categories: you have to have your diet in place, you have to have your mental game needs to be strong, but you also need to have sustained strength or endurance. And he goes deeper. I'm giving the Cliff Notes version. So, he knows that you're amazing at the sustained strength and some of the bell work and stuff like that. So, I think we're trying to nail down something that touches on all those. So we'll go over the absolute strength,
Awesome.
We'll go over, you'll teach us about, like, how to develop some of this endurance and power. And we work together to talk about the endurance and the mindset and the psychology, especially, someone like you, like, you got to be calm under duress. Like, everyone who I know is really good at martial arts are the calmest people, because, you can turn it on at any time, and you got to keep yourself at a level where people, it's people won't be nervous, but look, I mean, I think sometime early next year, I think would be a great time to have you guys come back.
Awesome.
Our community would love to build on. You can't learn this stuff in a weekend.
No. It's one. That's like an introduction. Then you move it forward from there. And I want to ask you something. Is there anything that you want to put forth right now, like, give people anything about your facility, location, or if you've got any specific class going on or any seminars coming up right now?
Yeah. I mean, if in general, we want to be a hub for all fitness instructors, physical therapists, chiropractors, whoever, anyone in that physical preparation field. So we have seminars every 2 months. We try to bring in experts like yourself, like Marty. We have a guy named Derek Hansen, who's who's a sprint coach, who's worked with every NFL team, almost every NFL team, NBA team, teaching us about sprinting and return to running. And if you guys want to learn, barbells or kettlebells in a group setting in New York City, we offer group classes and programming.
Awesome.
And lastly, I teach with my mentor, Dr. Craig Levinson, First Principles of Movement. We have seminars. We're going to have one in Chicago next week. And then in December, I think the first week of December in DC. So,
Nice.
Visit firstprinciplesofmovement.com or reloadpt.com. And we're on social media and all that stuff. And look out for our announcement with Phil and Marty and sometime early next year in New York City.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, hey, this is a great time. Thank you very much. And we'll definitely do this again.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, and it's been a great time talking to you. I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, we could have kept going forever.
Yeah, I want to see your next book. When's that going to drop?
It's probably not until the summer. I'm just smashed right now.
Yeah. Congrats on the teaching gigs, man. It's amazing.
Thank you.
You did it at a high level.
I'm pretty psyched. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Ryan.
You got it. Take care, Phil.
Take care, bud. Bye-bye.
Great job, guys.
Thank you, sir. All
Nice
right.
job.
So, guys, don't forget that we have Body Bell Method. Check out the bodybellmethod.com. Check out philross.com for in-person and online training. We got it all. And don't forget to, if you're in the city, you need to stop by reloadpt.com. You need to go there.
Nice.
All right.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching our episode of Master Phil in Your Corner. We'll see you next time.
Strength and honor. Cool. Good. Is Ryan still here or did he bounce?